New York has been a beehive of activity this past week where world leaders gathered for the 74th Annual United Nations General Assembly. Leaders discussed climate change and the need to reduce carbon emissions, among other issues. For highlights from Africa, let's go over to New York now, where VOA U.N. correspondent Margaret Besheer is standing by. Hello, Margaret.
Hi, Esther. We're winding down after a busy week.
Yeah, sure. So wrap it up for us.
Today is the last day. Today is the last day of the annual debate. As you said, climate change a really big priority here all last week. When you think of Africa, about great challenges, often it's conflicts or terrorism, but Africa is really on the front lines of global warming in terms of feeling the effects of it. So leaders, African leaders, one after the other, took the podium here over the last 10 days or so, and they all expressed concern about it, about the weather impacts that are affecting Africa, the droughts, the floods, the cyclones that we've seen, and they've asked for financial assistance in combating the effects of climate change, because Africa is one of the lower contributors to greenhouse gas emissions on the planet as a whole, but they're one of the areas that's feeling it the most. So they're asking for financial assistance primarily in building more resilient communities to deal with global warming.
So, Margaret, I know this past weekend there was also a high-level meeting about Sudan making a big kind of positive change with a new political development, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say Sudan was one of the highlights of the week. In fact, the Secretary General said it was his highlight, his personal highlight of the whole high-level week, that he didn't imagine that we would be at this point, at this moment in time in Sudan, after all the protests, that it would end so positively, and that with the transition underway. So Prime Minister Hamdok was here last week, and he asked the U.S. to take Sudan off the state sponsors of terrorism list. He also asked for a lifting of economic sanctions. He said it's really important for everything that Sudan does that it's off the terrorism list and that its sanctions are lifted, because the economy is in very poor condition. And also they need to start building state institutions, so they need assistance with that. So there was a lot of talk about that on Sudan.
Margaret, thank you so much for your great reporting throughout last week and wrapping it up for us today.
Thanks, Esther. Always a pleasure to join you.
Thank you. That is VOA U.N. correspondent Margaret Besheer reporting live from the United Nations.